I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just want to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in Season 2, Episode 5 of The Last of Us. So if you haven't watched that episode yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Max, check out that episode, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me to break down everything from Season 2, Episode 5 of The Last of Us, it's Jon Jon Rico!
Hello!
Hello!
I would start whistling, but I feel like that'd be pretty annoying way to start.
I actually, that would have probably been cool. We'll practice for next time.
Yeah, we're gonna learn their Starfight language.
I don't know how to, that's a really tight whistle. I don't know if I could do that. Like, I can whistle, but I can't do the thing where you put like your fingers in your mouth and do like that really loud.
Oh yeah, I've never been here. I can just do the standard, put your lips together and blow.
Yeah, I can do that. I can keep a tune by whistling and stuff, but there are people that like, they put two fingers in and you can do like a really tight whistle, or people that do it by pinching like fingers and doing that.
Yeah, I've never been able to do that.
I never learned how to do that.
Just silly.
I just get a bunch of spit on my fingers and yeah. Anyway, The Last of Us. Whistling. Today we're going to talk about whistling. That's it. That's all we're talking about. So if you don't want to learn about whistling, you might as well just turn this episode off. Anyway, now that there's like one or two people listening, so episode 5, we basically get the continuation of everything from episode 4, where we're kind of we get Ellie and Dina kind of making that plan that they want to get to the hospital. That was kind of where we left off on episode 4.
Yeah.
And very early on in this episode, we get what might be one of my favorite quotes moving forward. And it's like when they figured out the plan, they figured out how they're gonna attempt to get to the hospital, and the quote, my new favorite quote is, "Let's go be reckless." It's just like it's like the biggest like, well, fuck it. Like, like type of quote that you could possibly put. That, and basically most of my t-shirts are Young and Reckless t-shirts, so I was like, oh, it's on brand. It's on brand for me. Yeah,
usually you wear a lot of Young and Reckless stuff. So.
I have it right. I have it on right now.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I accidentally didn't wear a shirt that actually said like Reckless across my chest. I just have the abbreviation for it. But anyway, love that quote. There's a lot of things that I like. Can't wait to talk about with this episode. There's just, I mean, even before we started recording, we were just like, oh, remember that part? That was cool.
Yeah, we were doing a lot of that before.
Yeah, it was awesome. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, Rico, what were some of your instant reactions for episode 5?
Yeah, like we were talking about before we started recording, I think this was probably one of my favorite episodes of the season so far. I think episode 2 is definitely probably up there as far as like quality wise. Of course, it has the brutal moment with Joel, of course, but I think overall an episode is pretty action packed and solid as far as quality viewing too. But this one just gives us like a little bit of everything at the same time too. We get some really great one-on-one character moments too. We get some great infected moments too. We were talking about some of the stalker stuff in part of the episode. I think we got a pretty gnarly stalker scene in this episode that was pretty rad. Here we're in the first episode we get her dealing with just one, but in this one we get dealing with like 11 of them or something like that, which is insane. Just like when they saw the little by little more of them popping up, I just thought like, oh shit. So I just love when the show kind of brings out those kind of like horror moments as well, and then just a lot of great tension, action kind of moments as well too. So yeah, just a lot to love about this episode, and just knowing what's coming up next too, I'm just looking forward to. We only got 2 episodes left too, which is pretty crazy too. Like we were also talking about just the fact that they have so much more to pack in, but like Yeah, I thought they ended this episode on a really great note with a pretty big moment from the game that I'd love to talk about a little bit later on, takeaways. But yeah, overall very solid. Enjoyed it very much, and now I just can't. I want more. I need more. The season's too short.
I know, it's crazy. Like you even said it to me. I didn't even realize that we only have 2 episodes left. Like we are almost at the end of season 2 at this point,
Crazy.
and we have so much more that we can go into. But yeah, that stalker moment was just like, like I even said it as I'm watching. I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, especially when they turn around and there's even more behind them too. Is they're surrounded.
Yeah, just the way that they kind of introduced them throughout the show too has just been like really well done. They've kind of been like the cool new introduction of the season so far. Well, other than the other thing I'm going to talk about later on too, but but as far as like evolving the threat of the Cordyceps, I think they've done a really fun job with that so far this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that we're building it little by little. I mean, when you play the games, you know all of the different variations and the different threats and stuff like that. But building it like a TV show, it is pretty cool that they're kind of you get to stasis with what they know how to handle, and then we get like what they have like evolution of threats and stuff like that. So they're using the like different in good ways to kind of build more tension type of thing and keep them all on their toes all the time. Never getting just used to the regular infected and stuff like that. But you want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'm gonna kick off big takeaways with let's just tear that band-aid off right now. Get to the big reveal. Boom, big reveal. We get just in the nick of time. We get Jesse.
Yes,
coming in just like blasting people. Anyway, I came in blasting. He just comes in and starts taking out all the stalkers. It was awesome. It was an awesome like introduction scene for Jesse, or I guess reintroduction scene for Jesse type of thing.
Yeah.
Just coming in like a badass and just like shooting a whole bunch of the stalkers away. That was awesome. But not only that, that's like first half of the big reveal. We also get just in a line or two of dialogue that mentioned. He is not alone. That we have Tommy here too. They're both here. Tommy's still. Would they say that Tommy's at the theater, like waiting for them or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. He was off doing something else. I just can't remember what it was at that point.
Yeah, but that's how they found them and how they figured out where they were going to be too, was because they went to the theater, saw their plan and stuff like that too. So I thought that was a really cool reveal. It was like you knew they weren't going to die in that situation, but like I did not guess how they were going to get out of that situation, and just to have that like all of a sudden holy shit moment, somebody's like barging in and kind of basically saving them for a split second. I did not know who that was going to be, and I liked how that kind of it tricked me into appreciating the entrance like that much more, because I was like, oh, is this going to be a wolf? Is this going to be like a seraphite? Is this going to be like, you know what I mean? Like I did not know exactly. It could have been Tommy for all I knew. But yeah, I liked that. I really, really enjoyed, kind of that quick, rescuing scene. And then, them basically, showing us even more about the Seraphites and just how absolutely brutal they are as they're trying to escape back to the theater and stuff like that. But
They ran from 3 different threats, which is pretty crazy, because you had the stalkers and then you had the wolves that were shooting at them as soon as they ran out of the building, and then they're like, no, we don't go in the park, and then you realize why didn't they go in the park, and like, oh, because there are scars there too. So it's like that was pretty crazy. Great navigation.
Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, I am excited to kind of see Tommy and Jesse and Dina, and I mean, inevitably, I think we're gonna get Ellie back with them. I'm assuming, even though she's off on her own right now where this episode ended, I'm assuming that we're going to get all of them back together. But I'm excited to kind of see, them regroup and kind of, where we're going to go. But Rico, what were some of your big takeaways?
Yeah, and it's a big change from the way they've handled Tommy in general has been a big change from the games, of course, including the way that he obviously makes it out here with Jesse. Obviously, in the game, of course, he's actually the one that leaves first before anybody, and they actually have to go out and find Tommy because he's so hell-bent on revenge after Joel's death. And honestly, they've kind of changed that because Tommy plays a lot more kind of like a peaceful leader kind of a role in this show, I would say, for Jackson. And obviously kind of like, Jesse being kind of like the next version, I would say, of Tommy, and like a future leader of the place. It makes sense that those two would kind of take the initiative to kind of go out and help Ellie and Dina too in this situation, or at least go out and find them, whatever they're trying to do, like whether they're going out to bring them back or whatever it is.
Right.
So yeah, I do like that little bit of change because it still brings them out there into that situation. So we're not just like, emitting them from the situation as a whole. But yeah, it's just like that part that was really and also when Jesse comes in, the way it's kind of all fuzzy to Ellie too. And we talk about how we watched the inside the episodes after this one. And they kind of talk about how like in her, in her fuzziness of the whole situation, like that whole thing just kind of reminded her of Joel for a second. She didn't know if it was really Joel. Well, obviously she knew it wasn't Joel, but like just the whole actions of it was just very Joel-esque and how he would have done that. So I just kind of like that they kind of bring that kind of reminder to her at the end of the day, like she's kind of seeing him everywhere, even though he's not there anymore. So I like that. But yeah, for me, my takeaways I really love too. One is the introduction of the spores. One what I thought was handled perfectly. It was one of those things where like it was something that was in the games. I think even maybe in the first game, I'm not sure. But it's something that they're pretty used to by the time the second game. Like when they go out on raids, they have a gas mask in case they go into a spore like area. But I love the way that is introduced in the concept of the show. Where we get the opening scene with Hannaran and the woman there, where they're just talking about closing off the two levels that we end up going to later on at the end of the episode, of course. And as soon as I'm going to the end of the episode too, when I saw the B1 B2, I'm like, wait, they said B1 B2 early on in the episode. I'm like, this is this is the spot. Because I actually thought the Stalker building was the building that they sealed off at first, and that's where we were going to meet the spores. So I thought, yes, but then I was like, nope, that's just Stalker Central right there. So I love that whole build, but and then obviously, like we talked about again the inside the episode how they talk about that lady having to sacrifice her own son and seal him in that whole part structure. And that being kind of like an opposite of what Joel did at the end of season 1 too, which is pretty crazy. And then we actually get to see him later on, basically covered in cordyceps and breathing out the spores, which is a pretty dark visual. Like but the way that the visuals of them breathing out the spores, I thought looked really, really cool, like for a visual effect. But yeah, just that whole thing when she finally gets down there and she's walking through, like obviously just walking through all fine because it's she's immune. But that was just really great. But obviously, the reason that whole introduction is needed is because of the end of the episode too, when Ellie finally confronts Nora, which is just brilliantly, I think, adapted from the game. If you watch like any kind of side by side comparisons, they pretty much do shot for shot remake of that scene. Even like the small chase through the hallway, like in the game, you go through like this intense chase through all these different little hallways and stuff for Nora. So I kind of like the way they shorten that up a little bit for TV, but it still hits on all the important points of that scene. Even at the very end too, when she takes the pipe and beats the living crap out of Nora too. Which in the game is a pretty brutal moment because obviously they make you take control of the hits that are happening as they go. So you're just like, why am I doing this? I don't want to keep doing this to this girl. But yeah, I even love the way they kind of end on that kind of cliffhanger too. Like we don't actually see her finish the job, but we pretty much are given a good implication of what she probably does to Nora there too, given that she's a goner anyway from the spores. So yeah, that was a pretty wild, intense scene too, which leads to a great kind of like ending with the flashback and stuff like that, which I thought was great. But yeah, that was just when it comes to like kind of the scene for scene or shot for shot remakes of certain scenes from the game, that's definitely one of the best ones for me too, because it also I think shows how good Bella Ramsey is at portraying Ellie in like this state of rage and like because like that's a different Ellie than we've seen on the show I think by far in any episode. So going back to in season 2 or season 1, I think she really channeled a different side of the character too that I think if we've gotten to see more of that earlier on in the season, I think that people will be a little bit more sold on it. But yeah, I think she killed that entire episode, for lack of a better term. But yeah, that was just a really well done adaptation too. Even like just going down to the red lighting at the end too. I'm like, oh, this is just like perfect. So yeah, I very much love that ending.
Yeah, I like when she's the one who turns on the power to make that red light come on.
You're like, oh yeah, do it.
Oh,
We're doing it. We're
shit.
doing it.
But
It's like that Leo gift, like up.
Yep. But yeah, that was such an intense scene, and I was like, I knew it was coming up, just like you, and I immediately was like, I knew it was coming, and I was like, why is she going down there? Everyone knows this is sealed off. Why are you going down there? Like, not Ellie, but like Nora. I was like, why are you going down there? Like,
Yeah.
there are guards with guns behind Ellie, like up half a hallway behind Ellie. Like, you couldn't stall for that long. Like,
Yeah, they only shot for like the from the second floor. They didn't even continue down the hallway towards her. They're just keep going.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we didn't get her.
Yeah. Oh well. The next one.
It's so funny.
But yeah, I mean, we knew we were getting that shot, so like we knew, yeah, that's the reason. But yeah, that was an intense shot, and just like you said, like the visuals of the people breathing out the spores was intense. It looked like, have you ever seen one of those essential oil diffusers that does that? Like, that's
do the up close like shot. Yeah.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
And if there is not like custom built Last of Us, spore released.
Oh my gosh! Now they're going to be.
I mean, look, just give me like one for free. If somebody's gonna make a design after that, you're gonna make millions.
Right.
Just send me a custom built one.
Yeah,
anyway, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, you want to get to some predictions?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, why don't you kick off predictions?
So yeah, we end the episode with that flashback scene. We get Ellie waking up in bed, all nice and chipper, and we even get the nice little "Hey kiddo" from Joel at the end too, which is a nice little reveal for people who probably didn't think they were going to see Joel again, probably in this series. And we get to see him with a nice smile on the face. We get to see Happy Joel at the end of the episode, which I think is pretty cool. Which basically just tells us that we're going to get probably the big flashback episode. Right. And that's too, again, we only got 2 episodes to work with too, so I don't imagine they're gonna give us a flashback episode to end the season.
Right.
Yeah, but I imagine that I'm very much looking forward to that episode too, because there's some great flashback moments in the game that I imagine are going to be covered. Obviously the flashbacks are a little bit more spread out in the game, just to kind of give context after certain moments that happen in the present day. But I think they're gonna kind of like compile them a little bit more and make them a little bit more sequential. And I think it's gonna play really well too. I think obviously we're gonna get the stuff with Eugene that we've been waiting to see all season. But there's a couple of moments that they tease in the preview that are pretty great moments in the game as well. There's a pretty big moment with Ellie and Joel, of course, but then there's also a pretty cool moment in a history museum that I'm excited for them to take a gander through as well. So yeah, I'm very excited to see this because one, it's gonna be our nice little Joel and Ellie adventure episode, I imagine, and yeah, it's gonna be a nice little like kind of season 1 throwback kind of an episode. So very much looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, it happens really quick, but it does seem like this might also be when we learn when Joel actually tells Ellie.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a big revelation in there for sure when I think they go back to Boston, if I'm not, or they go back somewhere,
right,
or to Salt Lake. But yeah, that's gonna be a pretty big moment, and you can see some pretty big fury in Ellie's eyes there, because obviously she tells Nora that she knows that already. Like,
that was an intense.
Tried to drop the bombshell on Ellie that like, don't you know what Joel did? And then she was like, oh yeah, I know. And then she just continues to do what she does. Like, you're just like, okay, shit. So yeah, I think we're finally gonna kind of get that moment where she gets that revelation to her for sure. And obviously why they had that rift in the beginning of the season as well. Right. So yeah, I'm excited to see that that scene really play out, because it's a pretty intense moment in the game as well too. So I imagine that's gonna be another one they don't try to change too much. They want to try to keep that one as close as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really looking forward to the flashback episode. Just like you said, reliving kind of the before times when Ellie and Joel were kind of happy and surviving, but like kind of had their makeshift family basically.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to kind of getting kind of like a breath of fresh air before we go into, like whatever craziness the finale week's going to be. Because there's got to be something that's going to be like, they're going to end on a cliffhanger no matter what.
We got to bring Abby back too.
Right.
We got to be like, hey, you guys remember Abby's still a part of the picture. It's one of the things about the story that we've been talking about as far as like balancing the two characters as far as who's our main character, because they're both the main character in my opinion of the story.
Yeah.
So,
second game, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just hope they can kind of fit in some good Abby material here just to kind of show she's still a very prominent character to the main to audiences that don't know the story.
Yeah, and that actually leads perfectly into what I wanted to talk about in predictions. And it's not a prediction, it's a theory that we've already started to mention. And I just feel like it's starting to gain a little bit of steam. And that theory is that, this season's going to finish. Yes, inevitably, maybe we see Ellie and Abby be like coming face to face type of thing. But my theory is, and it's not just my theory, I definitely heard it and we were talking about it and we've kind of amended it a little bit more from there. But I think we don't get point of view from Abby until season 3. And I think the best way they do that is, we get there are plenty of cliffhanger moments from the game that they can end season 2 on. I think we get to one of those moments where we have Ellie and Abby type of thing. And then it stops on a cliffhanger. Cut to credits. Season 3 opens up with Abby, and it's Abby in Seattle day 1. And then we get the first couple episodes of season 3 is reliving day 1 and day 2 from Abby's point of view until inevitably we get back to, we catch back up to where season 2 ended with whatever they end season 2 on. But then from then on, either we see both of them at the same time or we cut, every once in a while from their point of view much, much sooner. But I just think it would be a cool way to start season 3 with day 1 and day 2 episodes of, this is what Abby was doing that whole time. That's why she wasn't directly around, while Ellie and Dina were in Seattle for day 1 and day 2 type of thing. Right. And I just think that would be a very interesting way to do things. Because there's like you were saying before we even started recording, there is so much to get to.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we have to get to. So.
Right. So there's no way they're cramming it into 2 episodes because more than likely we're getting, like you said, a pretty big flashback episode next. And then we have the season finale. So they can only do so much.
Hopefully it's a long finale too that will cram in a lot as well too. That's another thing to take to consider because this is not like a standard kind of like 40-minute show. These go the full hour, sometimes a little bit over too. So they definitely don't skimp on time when it comes to like giving stuff. They give everything their full due usually. So and next season's gonna have more episodes too. So hopefully that gives them more room to play around as far as what they're gonna to adapt there as well.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, we were talking about that. If it's like 2 more episodes, they could do that idea, do the first 2 episodes, day 1 and day 2 with Abby, and then literally they have the same length of season 3 from then on to build just like season 2 type of thing. So they kind of can work with it like that if they really wanted to do something like that. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the breath of fresh air that we're gonna get before the finale for next episode and kind of putting more context into, past events and stuff like that, like they did with the video game. And now what we're going to have in this next episode with flashbacks in kind of a lot of flashbacks, I guess, in the next episode. But
same.
In the meantime, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 5? And what flashbacks do you think we're going to see? And what flashback are you most looking forward to seeing? And how do you think this season is going to end? It's definitely got to end on a cliffhanger, but like what cliffhanger will it end on? And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.